person wants to start a business in Jamaica, they have a number of options. First of all, they can just begin to operate a business in their own name. Or if they have another name that they want to do, which is not their own name, they can register a business name. Or they can register a company under the Companies Act of Jamaica. Now there are differences from operating as a company, which could be a limited liability company, or a public company if they get larger and are able to sell, to list on the stock exchange and sell shares to the public, than if they are operating in their own name as a sole trader or as a trader operating under a business name. So there are two kinds of registrations that are available, and a person would have to think about exactly what it is that they want to do. There are many people who start as sole traders, and as their business grows, they come to register their company. So that the most common vehicle would be a sole trader or a limited liability company. Anybody can form a company in Jamaica once you're an adult. And there are forms that have to be filled out and registered. Well, first of all, these forms have to be stamped, and there's a price for stamping each one of those forms. The total amount in terms of the cost which has to be paid to the government is about $24,000. That covers the stamping cost, it covers the cost of registering the company, and it covers the cost of getting the certificate of incorporation and certified copies of the articles of association. However, if a person is going to be registering as a sole proprietor, registering a business name, that is if they're not operating in their own name. Suppose, for example, I'm Aloun-Assamba, that's my name. I can operate a business as Aloun-Assamba. Or if I say the name of my business is ANA, without the limited, just ANA, it would be Aloun-Assamba trading as ANA. Then I would register ANA as a business name. And the cost for doing that is much less. It's about $2,500, which has to be paid to the registrar of companies. It depends on how large an operation you are going to have. If you're just simply starting and you're just trading, you could start, if you're not using your name, start by registering a business name. That gives you some amount of legal status. It allows you to get loans if you have a business name. It allows you to open an account in the bank in the name of the business. If you are going to be operating in a more complicated manner, let us say, than just you alone in the business, it would be a very good idea to register as a limited liability company, because a limited liability company has its own legal person, is its own legal person, and therefore the responsibilities of the company would be separate and defined apart from the responsibility of the individual who owns the company. When a person is going when the lawyer is going to draft the articles of association, the lawyer will have to draft a clause which says what is the business that the company is going to be involved in, what are the services that they're going to be offered, what are the goods, that they're going to be offered. There's a special section of the articles that says the company will be involved in the business of, and then you try to be as general as you can be, because you don't want to limit the powers of the company. For example, the forms are already set, and you can choose to use the forms that are there, or you can choose not to use them and to draft different forms. But there is one thing which the lawyer will have to draft, is what is the purpose of the business. If you are registering an NGO, and for example later down you're going to want to apply to get tax exemption, or you want to apply to remove the word limited from the name of the company, then you would have had to have drafted the clauses in such a way that when you make the application to the minister, that he will see what the purpose is, and that, for example, all the profits are being plowed back into the business rather than going into the contributors' pockets. Well, first of all, one has to check with the Office of the Registrar of Companies to see if that name would be available, meaning that somebody else has registered using that name, whether it is a business name or whether it is the name of a company. If you are tied to that name and you're not quite ready to register, you can pay a fee to hold the name for you for a period of time, so that one should consider the name. Remember, the name of your company is going to be almost like the face of your company. That is what people will remember. They're not going to be interested in who are the persons whose name are the contributors to the company. So the name is important and you need to check. If the name is too close to a name that exists and would cause confusion in the minds of the public, the registrar would not accept the registration of that name. A foreign national can in fact contribute to the registration of a company in Jamaica. When you are registering a company in Jamaica, if you have a local address, which is your normal address, you have to provide to the registrar the names, occupations, address, TRN number of the persons who are the contributors. And if you're not a Jamaican national and you use a foreign address, you can still be registered, but as part of the company, but of course you won't have a TRN. It is a very smooth and quick process depending on whether or not the documents are properly completed and executed. It could take no more than 2 weeks, but if there are errors on the documents and they have to be returned for those errors to be fixed, it could take a longer time. Well, the first thing I would say is speak to a lawyer who would explain in greater detail about what the various options are and what are the pluses and the minuses, because there are. You know, if you are a sole trader, then you're operating in your own name and all of the business operation becomes a charge upon you personally, so that your liability for tax, your liability in case your business goes into bankruptcy, a person who you owe, for example, can claim anything you have which is not a part of the business. However, if you are operating as a limited liability company, then you are also liable for tax, but the company would be liable separate and apart from you, the owner. It also, if there is a situation where your company runs into problems and you have creditors who are seeking to reclaim what is owed to them, they can't go behind the veil of incorporation, meaning they can't come and take the things that are owned by you personally and not by the company. So, you know, you would need to get advice as to what is the best route to take in terms of how you set up and how you organize your business. Of course, after your business has been registered with the Registrar of Companies, whether it is as a limited liability company or whether it is a sole trader or you've registered a business name, you then have to make the other registrations with the Income Tax Department, with the NIS, with the Housing Trust and so on, if you are going to have employees or even for yourself.